It is a day to get blue way closer to running. I was gonna work on the RX-7 today because I want to get the 13B built. Bought a seal kit like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or whatever. Went to go start assembling that engine last night and then quickly discovered I was missing oil control rings. I have never understood how expensive rotaries are up until I had to go buy oil control rings. $700 for oil control rings for that engine. It's absurd. I understand why people put Ellis's in those cars now. But anyways, that'll be coming up in a couple of days. For now, we're gonna get blue even closer to running. This car really needs a clay bar and a polish on it, which we'll do. But anyway, last time we left off, we got the new engine in, a whole bunch of accessories bolted on. I think there's a dyno. I hear a dyno. Someone has a dyno over here. We got the engine in. We got a lot of the accessories put on. We still have a lot of little things we need to get done. I need to go into the software, reassign some wires in the Haltech for our updated harness. We have like boost controllers, oil pressure regulators, map sensors, a whole bunch of stuff to get mounted up, figured out, and permanently put on this car. I have ran into one issue. Now, any of my EG33 peeps out there, you guys may know the struggle with this, and I am willing to buy one off of you. I need one more of these TGV to intake manifold gaskets. They are discontinued. I cannot find any in stock. I was able to find this one, but I cannot find any more. So if there's any other EG33 people out there who have any of these gaskets and they're willing to sell me one, please let me know. I will buy one off you ASAP. If not, I'm gonna have to try to find a company that'll make me some of these. But anyways, let's just jump into things. We're gonna start off in the engine bay. I need to get the boost controller mounted. I need to get a cam position sensor plug wired onto this harness and a couple other small stuff. And then fuel lines, and then we can start jumping over to the more fun, big stuff to actually get this car like actually close to starting up. So I'm knocking out a lot of the smaller stuff right now. I went ahead and I got the map sensor mounted up to the manifold. You guys can see the one line that runs just straight up to the manifold right there. So it makes for a super short, super inconspicuous line. The oil pressure sensor location has been figured out. That's gonna go right there. There is a dash 4 adapter to 1/8 MBT that goes to the sensor. We'll have a line that runs underneath of the manifold going right up here to be able to read oil pressure, because last time we killed the oil pressure sensor because it was hard mounted to the engine. I've killed a handful of sensors that way. I try to avoid it when I can, but now that we've got the oil pressure sensor mounted up here, map sensor mounted up there, I could get the coolant expansion tank slapped back on there. On top of that, we also have the secondary knock sensor underneath the manifold wired up, as well as the cam position sensor, which is right there. So we're still gonna keep going on some of the other smaller stuff. I need to find a belt that works for this setup. I thought this is an AC belt out of an EJ, and I thought it might work. Definitely does not, but I'll figure something out for that. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and get this pressure sensor sealed up and mounted up into our fuel pressure regulator. Get the fuel lines ran from the left side of the engine back over to the fuel rails and whatnot. I can't do this side yet because somehow I stripped out this bolt down here that holds the fuel rail to the TGV housing, so I need to get that off, tap it, put a helicoil in it, and then mount it back up. So I'm gonna have to bring that back to the house with me to be able to do so. We can go ahead and get the oil pressure regulator mounted up on this side. Whole bunch of small stuff, man, but it's like the easy small stuff that we're doing right now. That's kind of time consuming, but if we do it now, we won't have to do it later kind of thing. And if we don't have to do it later, that means we can get closer to it running right now. I actually might throw the radiator back in for now too. See, there's just so much stuff. I got this valve cover sealed up. Now I want to talk about this for a second before I keep going. With the grounding kit that I just installed from iWire, I've had this in here. It's the iWire grounding kit. I had it installed wrong because last time I installed it, I didn't know any better. Like I said, I take what I learned from all the other builds and I apply them to all the future ones. So with their grounding kit, I cut some of the wires down so that way they'd be a little bit cleaner of an install. You've got 4 wires coming off of these iWire ground kits. It's going to go to roughly here on pretty much every car. You've got 1 wire that's going to go up behind the fuse box and ground to the chassis right there. You're going to have 1 that grounds to the alternator bracket. You're going to have 1 that grounds to the left-hand cylinder head, and then 1 that grounds to the right-hand cylinder head. You can use any placement you want, but those are the 4 locations that you want these ground kits to hit to get the maximum effect from them. I also use engine ground, so I'll ground the engine to the frame rail. As you can see right there, there's that 1 ground strap that goes from the cylinder head to the frame rail. I'll put 1 on the other side also, but those are critical. They're absolutely critical to have in there. Make sure that you don't forget ground, because when it comes to electrical systems, especially one of this magnitude, where you have an OEM, ECM, and a standalone controlling things, making sure that all of your grounds are proper is going to play a huge effect on how the car actually operates. So I'm hoping that that'll clean up some of the electrical interference that maybe I had before, and kind of help just kind of, you know, make things a little bit cleaner. So just wanted to touch on that before I kept going in here. Now let's jump back in here and keep getting more stuff done. Dude, it's starting to look like old blue again. A lot of the little stuff is getting done right now just to fast track this as much as possible. The one thing that's going to keep us from really getting the car going is just placement of this, which once we get all the little stuff kind of tackled, bolted in permanently like in here, then we'll start to worry about that. I just don't want to tackle that right this second. I'd rather minimize the amount of parts that I have floating around the shop right now and get it done. So a couple of the small things, I did get the intercooler and the radiator back in. I need to grab a new upper radiator hose. I've got some hose at the house. I'll bring the older one with me so I can cut some, bring it back here tomorrow. We will get the fuel system finished tomorrow. I need to bring over my AN jaws and all my AN line and fittings. I got the oil pressure regulator in. I need to get a grommet ordered for back there in the firewall so that way we can finish that. I need to get the last of the electrical connectors ordered to be able to hook up the electric power steering rack into the system. Right now it's got its signals, but it doesn't have a dedicated power and ground yet, which we're gonna have to run some cables into the trunk for that since that's where our battery's at. Or technically I guess I could run them over here, but I don't want to have a ton of wires over here. On this side of the car, got the cam position done, all the grounding kit like we talked about earlier. I'm missing 1 breather hose, but I can just make a new one. It's no big deal. But dude, it is legit almost looking like it almost is ready to start. I put some oil in it. It took about 7 quarts of oil to even touch the dipstick. We just have a huge pan on this thing. And I mean, a big pan. Where did that oil come from? I don't know. I think that may have spilt out earlier. Oh no, it's coming from that oil pressure regulator up there. That's fine. You can drip out all the old oil. I kind of need you to get out anyways. This coming week, I need to grab some welding gas so I can finish welding the ends of our intercooler right there. And then I have new piping at the house for all this, and we'll weld new intercooler piping. This works. I just want it to be a little bit tighter of a radius. It feels so good to see it back, like coming back together again. So I'm gonna grab that TGV housing. Let's go to the house. I'm gonna get that fixed tonight. We'll come back in the morning with a whole bunch of stuff and keep making more progress on this. Salutations and good Dusseldorf, everyone. I'm pretty sure that's a place in Germany, but that's all right. So I went back to the house last night. I got this TGV housing repaired. I did a helicoil in it so that way the fuel rail would hold down. Now, speaking of fuel rails, I talked to Josh last night and we have decided to put ID 1300s back in the car for break-in, because trying to make adjustments on a Haltech with ID 2600s on pump gas just isn't going to work very well. ID 2600s just don't like to idle on pump gas. It's just ID 2600s and pump gas don't get along for idling. So I'm gonna put 1300s back in the car until we get over to Josh, and then we'll hot swap the 2600s onto the car on the dyno. On top of that, I also got a box full of fabrication goodies in from Ace Race. I brought over some AN line, my jaws, new radiator hose for the upper part. I don't wanna waste too much time. We're getting places. We got the upper radiator hose in. I've got the oil feed line done going to the oil pressure sensor right here. I have one coolant line done off of the expansion tank. I'm waiting for the rest of the hose to come in. That's just an old one that I had sitting around that was still a good hose that I could cut down to make for that one. I need to make a breather line from this side of the cylinder head up to the back of the catch can back there. I need to order a -10 to -6, or -10 ORB to -6 AN fitting for the fuel return. I'm just gonna run the -6 fuel return. It'll be fine to do that. I wanna remake this line here because it's a little bit tight. And if you look down here, I wanna get that a little bit longer so that way it can be like tucked maybe back there more, maybe down there more, just to get it out of the way a little bit more. But what was that? There's more that needs to be done. But I'm trying to like just get all the little shit done. So that way, all we have is one big thing left, and then we can just start this car and get it running again. Because as soon as I get all of this done, and I put ID 1300s back in the STI, I can drive it. Like, it's good to drive. I already have a full tune on here. Cool, so I can go ahead and make that breather line going from the passenger head over to the catch can. Get that one line done, because I don't know where my old one went. It just kind of vanished, which is a little odd. So let's go ahead and make that line. Let's remake this one fuel line also. Dude, it's gonna be so close to fucking starting up after this. There's oil in it. I need to, I'm gonna try to figure out an oil cooler situation. I have the oil cooler mounted up. I need to pull it off and clean it, but it's just trying to figure out a way to route the lines without hitting the exhaust. I don't know, man. I'll figure something out. Fuel lines done. I've got the breather hose done. I think at this point I'm good to permanently bolt down the intake manifold. The fabricator actually showed up about 10 minutes ago. He was just driving by because he's a couple units over, and he said he's good to do the up pipe tomorrow for us. So tomorrow we're gonna swing over here at about 3 p.m. Tackle that. So that way, dude, once the turbo's relocated, then all I have to do is build the downpipe, build intercooler piping, swap the injectors from the 2600s back over to the 1300, and make one more return line from the ethanol sensor over to the hard line going back to the tank. This car will be ready to start. I feel like this time around has flown by on getting blue running again, which is wild because last time I've also changed the way I'm doing the videos on blue a little bit, so that way it's not every little detail like I did before, because all that's already documented. So it's more of an overview of it. Oh, and I need to find a serpentine belt, but it's easy. But it's like everything's just going way smoother this time, which is good, because I mean I already built and fabricated and we did a lot of the waiting last time around, so it's just pretty much smooth sailing right now, you guys. Let me show you though. Let me show you because I'm in awe with like how simple everything is going together. So I went ahead and I redid this line here, this feed line, because I wanted it to sit a little bit farther away from our coil packs, which are right there. I went ahead, got the return line done from this rail going back over to the fuel pressure regulator there. The last line that I need to do is from our ethanol sensor, which is down there on the frame rail, up to right here. I just need a -10 AN to -10 ORB to -6 AN to be able to do that. But dude, this is wild. So let me get the intake manifold up and off of the TGV housings. Let me get all of the coil packs plugged in, and I think I can run spark plug leads off of the manifold to where they're gonna be going. I'm not gonna put them into the cylinders yet because I'm gonna pull out all the spark plugs when we go to build oil pressure on this thing, because it's just gonna be, it's way easier for the engine to turn over. You can get greater cranking speeds by doing it that way. So sick, dude, wild. I would probably just do it now if I had an oil filter. I'd probably just build oil pressure now, but I don't have an oil filter here. Do I? I don't, I have no oil filter, so we'll build oil pressure in the next video. It's not a big deal. It's legit almost ready to start. So I got the boost controller hooked up. Well, I didn't get it hooked up. Somehow a connector walked off and I'm missing a connector for the boost controller, so I'm gonna have to order a new one. But catch can is obviously been in, oil pressure regulator's now in, manifold's bolted down, but it's only temporarily bolted down because I'm missing the gaskets for it. Wire in the fans, that'll take maybe half hour. The oil feed line, fabricate the up pipe, which is happening tomorrow. I'm not doing that, the fabricator is. Build intercooler piping, I will be doing that. Need to order a front grille, front fog bezels. I need to get a 60mm firewall grommet, wire in the boost controller. Like I said, that'll take 2 minutes once I get the actual connector. I just don't know where mine went. I tore apart the whole shop, couldn't find it. Wire in the steering rack, just need to get wire ordered. Expansion tank lines, waiting on the hoses to come in. Fuel return line, just need to order that -10 to -6 AN fitting. Reassemble the interior in here, which is easy. I just don't want to do that till the car's actually running. And then the injectors from the 2600s down to 1300s, just for break-in, first start, that kind of stuff. So it's we're literally on the cusp of having blue back up and running. I would like to estimate that it'll probably be within the next 2 weeks that this car is running. Now it's all happening faster, mainly because of the fact that everything that we had to wait on last time is already here and fabricated. There we go, now there's power to the car. So it's just not taking us as long. Is my battery dead? Did I let the battery die? I let the battery die like a dummy. I left one of the doors open and it killed it with the lights on. It's my fault. We'll bring a banjo fitting over next time. We'll get the spark plugs pulled out. We'll leave an oil filter off actually to build oil pressure because it's a little bit easier that way, because it's gonna fill up the filter first. Once it starts coming out of there, then we'll put a filter on it, continue trying to build oil pressure, verify our sensors reading. Once we have oil pressure built, technically at that point I can start it, but I'm gonna wait till the turbo kit's done. It just makes a little bit more sense logically that way. For the first start, I'd rather have everything be 100%, so whatever. I'll get some ID 1300s when I get home. But I think that's all I got for you guys on this one. So if you like the video, you know what to do. If you're excited to see blue come back very soon, go ahead, hit that like button. Also turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it may turn for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, put it in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.